Well, noise seems to have been a bigger issue in the last couple of years. It's certainly significant. And again, we have to be reasonable here because, I mean, people want to have a good time and so on. But many of the people who move into Sandy Hill are students and they may be living away from home for the first time. They may very much want to have a good time. And frankly, they may overuse alcohol, I should say. And in doing that, then you don't realize how loud you are when you're drunk. So that's a problem for the residents. It's also a problem for other students who may want to study or may need their sleep or have to get up the next day to go to work. So for everyone in the community, it's better if people are respectful of their neighbors. Most tenants are responsible. Most landlords are responsible. The problem is dealing with the rotten apples in the barrel. And we think that it's important for the city to be active in terms of education, in terms of enforcement, but it should be against the occupants of the units who are causing the problems, because these are behavioral problems, and they tend to be student renters, but most student renters are perfectly good renters and deserve access to housing.
Hundreds, like 100 people plus, like chapel parties, always the best. Like the one on, remember, when was it, on St. Patrick's Day a couple years ago? That one was like the street party was good. It was a lot of people though. It was like insane. Yeah. And like most of the parties are like that, but minus the like extra 300 people. But like like there's always a lot of people there, and it's because everyone knows everyone. Because the houses are like they have like one house has like 16 people in it somehow. I don't know how they do it, and they convert them into like so many people in one house that like you get to meet your neighbors and you're like, oh, I'm having a party, and then they come, they bring all their friends, and then all the houses in one apartment are inviting like 40 people, and it gets out of control.
And it's not just that, like when we lived, our apartment, we just left the doors open so that people living downstairs could come upstairs and vice versa. So we always had people coming in and out of the apartment, which was crazy.
And like you're so close to the market that it's just like walking distance to go and like have fun and come back. And
so everyone who didn't live in Sandy Hill would come and drink here before going out.
Yeah.
So that was also...
Yeah.
So it's not just people who live here.
No.
This is the place.
It's the proximity.
Yeah.
So
my friends like in Orleans will come downtown to drink because if you're going to go down to the bar, it's like a 10-minute walk instead of a 40-minute bus ride, right?
And a good pre-party.
And a pretty good pre-party.
Yeah.
So, and is it every weekend? Is that what you would experience?
Well, it's not the same people every weekend, but like there's like parties every weekend, I'd say, especially during like this time of year when everyone just gets back from school and has their OSAT money.
So I think that the closer you get to the university, the more likely you are to like live in a house that's full of students, and then the more likely it is to be louder.
I feel like like King Edward, Henderson. What's the next one over? Sweetland. I feel like once you get past Sweetland, it gets quiet because that's like a lot of embassies and like people over there are usually like they go over there because they know it's a bit quieter. But the ones that are closer to King Edward are definitely like the party streets, and people are a bit more friendly. You walk in and like usually like the living rooms are converted into bedrooms, and like a lot of things are converted into like small. So you have like a really small living room, if you want to call it that, and the rest is all just bedrooms, and they try and fit as many people into a house as they can. And like, sure, it's great because like the landlords make money and the rent's cheap for the students, but like it does get kind of gross. Like you walk in there and it's like there's no space to breathe, and like it's just gross and sweaty. Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if it was just because our apartment wasn't very well maintained, and I lived on top, like my apartment was on top of a house full of football players who also had all of their friends over, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I didn't like that at all, to be honest. So I moved out the next year. But it gets very crowded, it gets very disgusting sometimes. I figured it's a year-long lease. I'm here, I have to stay, so I might as well make the best out of it. But I definitely moved to a quieter area after that, just because I like the idea of being able to get away from the parties. Like, partying's nice, but I don't want the parties to be in my house.
Yeah, I've gotten to the point now where I feel like I like the apartments that are like clean and nice and it's quieter around there. And like I find now I'd be willing to move into like a farther neighborhood just because it's nicer. Because living in Sandy Hill's fun, but being in Sandy Hill's fun. Living in Sandy Hill isn't. That's what I'd say.
Sandy Hill is a nice space. We compare it. I'm always liking to compare it to Queens' student ghetto at times. It's the closest thing we have one in comparison. A lot of our students are here, and it becomes a little bit tricky because we know there's a lot of people who aren't students who are also living here. Families, diplomats. It's like a kind of a mixed mash of just anyone who you could kind of see being a downtown urbanite.
And how often are the parties and the noise?
You'll have at least, there's always a party downtown in Sandy Hill, somewhere in Sandy Hill. Because Sandy Hill is a fairly big space. When I was living in Goulburn, I would probably only hear a party once a week at most, and usually I could go a week without hearing one. But walking home or walking to another place, I'd probably encounter at least one party every Thursday to Saturday.